Hey guys, today's April the 11th of 2022, and I wanted to show you some things I've been looking at in crude oil, CL futures. First off, I want to start off with the 5-year seasonality. As you can see, June and July are pretty strong months where prices move higher. And you can see that February, March are kind of a little bit over, 50%. So they're a little stronger, but nothing compared to June and July. And we put our high on March the 7th. We go to 10 years. You see that February is strong, but we actually put a high in March. You can see that March is flat. So maybe whatever happened in February carried over into March. And then it kind of gets a little flat. May has a little bump, but then June is very, very strong. And also July, but June is still strong compared to May and July. And you can go to the 15-year. You can see that February is strong. March is a little bit. June is up there with April. And then you go 20 years out. You see that February is still strong, but June and July get the next bump up in regards to the seasonality on percent of months in which WTIC closed higher than it opened from 2003 to 2022. So just to start off with just that as a backdrop, I'm going to show you another clip. Okay, so this is the price action of this year. You can see that we made a high somewhere around March the 7th. These are closing dates. If we had the 5-year average, you see that it kind of follow a pattern, pulls in, although the percent of the move is not as strong as the average, but you see that it kind of there's a little bit of a correlation. But anyway, you can see that now it peaks up over here around April 19, 20, around there. Then it pulls back into the last week of April around the 27th. And then it gets this nice pop to May 23rd. We'll go sideways to back to June the 16th. And then towards the last week of June, first week of July, it gets kind of toppy. And then it kind of pulls back and goes up and that sort of thing. We do the 10-year average, kind of like similar pattern, pops up. We made that high on March 23rd, 24th, pulls back down. And then around April the 1st, it pushes higher. And it continues trending higher till maybe May the 20th. Pulls back in to like the first week of June, June 3rd. And then it resumes the trend all the way to July. So you can say June, July. That's where that peak kicks in on the other chart I showed you. We do the 15-year average. You just see that the trend is more established. You can just see that it's just more on an uptrend to June, July, and then it just kind of goes a little sideways, maybe a little lower. When you put all three of these, this is not a composite. These are the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year. You see that it's like something to it of it pulling back maybe the last week of April, around the 27th. And then they all push higher to somewhere around May the 20th, 23rd. The 5 and the 10-year pull back to like the first week of August, while the 15 just continues trending higher. But then they all kind of meet up somewhere around July the 1st, the 3rd, the 4th, around there. And then it could just either go sideways or pull back in or retrace. I'm going to show you something else on another clip. Okay, here I have a data set from March 2019 to current prices that we have here on crude oil. And this is the spectrum cycle analyzer. And there's a couple of things I want to show you. One is the 398 cycle. You see that this one peaks out somewhere around July the 3rd. Remember that I was saying that between June, July, especially the first week of July, uh, crude gets very toppy. It's a peak and then goes kind of sideways and then drifts a little lower. This cycle confirms the seasonal uh, patterns that crude oil exhibits once in a while. Now, if I take that off, there are two more cycles that come up, and one, the dominant cycle, is 161. And what's odd about this one is it's the opposite of what the seasonals do. So this one bottoms out, hits a trough somewhere around June the 25th, 21st, 25th, around there. And there's another one, and this one has pretty much a high, Bartels is 76, 77. This one is 221. It has a high Bartel of 87, and the strength is 2.04, and the other one was 2.81. You see this one peaked out somewhere on March the 24th, and it bottoms out somewhere around July. So what's interesting is that using the spectrum analyzer, it picked out the 398, which is bullish, which leads us for a crude to continue either going sideways or pushing higher till July, the first week, confirming the seasonality of what crude normally does around this time frame. Then, on the other hand, you got the 161 and the 221, a composite of both, leads you down to like June, which is the opposite. These are the kind of things that you'll come across as a trader, as a researcher, uh, to decide what is going to be the path of least resistance. As of right now, it looks like it's just pretty much up, making higher highs and higher lows. But then you get this curveball, and this is when it gets a little more complicated. And this is real time, real data set. So, what would you do? I don't know. There's other things maybe you need to keep in mind. Risk. Is it worth it? Going short, going long, or just kind of wait till and all the stuff going on in the world. Just maybe sit on the sidelines and wait to decide if crude is gonna hold this low and then push higher. But either way, those are the things I wanted to show you here. Then we're gonna go to this last clip and look at the chart of crude and see what we could get out of it. Okay, so this is the last chart I wanted to go over. This is the weekly of crude futures, CL. And I anchored a channel from these 2 points and anchor it to this point, and we right now at support this week. I want to show there's a key level here, and if we fail this area right here between 85 and 80, 78 is going to be another key level of support. A lot of demand here, and we're in a demand zone right now with the channel showing that could be a possible swing low. Let's go to the daily chart. Using some of Gann's techniques, see if we can make this smaller because we go into June and July. But you can see right here, there we go. This is where we're at right now. I was using some of Gann's theory and calculating time, and what I noticed that April 12th, which is tomorrow, It's going to be interesting. Also, the April 21st and the 22nd. I think that's a Thursday and Friday. It should be interesting also if it continues pushing lower. Right now, tomorrow's could be very interesting, but if it fails to hold this key level of 93, then somewhere around this April 21st could be interesting regards timing. As you can see, I have a trend line. Once we get above that, the possibility of it retesting at least 114 or greater if we could get above that trend line. But right now, this is where the battle begins. As like it could be a fail new low and then push higher, or it could continue pushing lower. So now of all the stuff I showed you earlier in the video, this is June and July. These are dates I have. I have June 6th. I have June the 12th, or I guess the 13th. And I also have July the 1st, because there is no 3rd in July. I have July the 1st. And I also have July the 12th dates that I have on my radar. If crude can, trends higher, chucks along, and follows the seasonality of getting very toppy, hitting some peaks between June and July. But if the spectrum cycle analysis is the one that's going to control and kind of steer crude lower, then it's going to be invert to what normally crude will do between June and July. So that's the kind of mindset you have to have coming into understanding crude, that it could go up or it could go down. Which one is going to go? Like I said, price is king. Crude is going to give us clue if it wants to go higher. And if it wants to go higher, it has to show price action of making higher highs and higher lows. And that could give us the probabilities where it could maybe continue trending higher to June, July. But if it's going to be pushing lower because it's getting influenced or other factors that are going on behind the scenes, inflation and whatnot, and people manipulating and trying to push crude lower, then that spectrum cycle analysis could be indicating that also, which is against what normally crude would be doing, seasonally. Hopefully you like this video. I'm going to be watching crude, have it on my radar, and see how this is going to play out between now and June and July. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on crude using Gann cycle analysis.